Hey, welcome back to Udemy Masterclass. This is Kerry Knoll for the Advanced Sales Copywriting. All right, let me go over a quick overview of what we're going to cover in this particular training video. So we're going to talk about the 6 keys to crafting your story. Then we're going to talk about the simple 3-step framework. Then we're going to go over 10 crucial questions that you must have answered or get answered when writing your sales copy. And then we're going to solve one specific problem for your target customer. Then we're going to talk about storytelling and how important it is to actually be a good storyteller when crafting your sales copy. Then we're going to cover what we call story selling in 5 steps. From there, we're going to go on to harness the power of your own unique story. So we're going to dive into that. And then we're going to go over the 4 steps to creating buyer frenzy. Then we're going to talk about the 5 mistakes you need to avoid. And then we're going to talk about the PMES copywriting formula. And finally, we're going to cover features versus benefits and how they play an important and impactful role in your sales copywriting. All right, we're going to dive into 6 keys to crafting your story. This is by Donald Miller. How to basically build a story or brand your story. So number 1, there is a character. All right, so you have to basically craft this around a character. That character probably being your avatar or your perfect customer. Okay, number 2, the character has a problem, right? Number 3, at the peak of the character's despair, they find a guide. All right, number 4, the guide gives the character a plan. Number 5, and calls the character to action. So right now, we have a character. The character has a problem. At the peak of the character's despair where they don't know how to fix it or what they're going to do, they find a guide. That guide gives that character a plan, and that plan calls that character into action. Number 6, that ends in success and helps them avoid failure, right? So if you did explain what it'd be like to fail, it's more powerful to the story reader or listener if they can see the potential in failure, but then witness the character's success. All right. And of course, that's by Donald Miller. Building a story brand is what it's called. All right. So it's just imperative that you write this down and that you think about this when you're crafting your story, and think about these 6 elements to that story and how your story is created to fill each one of these 6. Okay. So let's move on to the next subject. So the simple 3-step framework was actually something that was developed by Frank Kern, and I'm sure many of you know who he is and what he's about, but this is basically what he has and how he simplified things. So he has, number 1, here's what I got. Number 2, here's what it'll do for you. And number 3, here's what I want you to do now. So he's broken it down even simpler than Donald Miller at this point. But basically it's the same thing, but just dummied down as simple as you can get it. Here's what I got. Here's my offer, basically. Here's what it'll do for you. Here's how it'll solve your problem. And then here's what I want you to do now, which means I want you to hit that buy button, or I want you to take some massive action, something like that. Okay? So that's basically the simple 3-step framework by Frank Kern. Next, we have 10 crucial questions, right? That was written by a gentleman named Alvaro Albuquerque, who wrote the 16 words to a sales letter. He basically broke down his multi-million-dollar copywriting down to one single sentence. The secret to converting copy is to define the one belief and then answer these 10 crucial questions, right? How is this different? How is this different from everything else I've seen? Number 2, what am I going to get out of this? What is in it for me? Number 3, how do I know this works or is real? So a lot of times they'll be showing, like social proof or back office screenshots or, of income claims, that sort of stuff. Number 4, what's holding me back? Overcoming any objections, right? What's telling me this isn't for me, basically? Number 5, who, what is to blame? It's not your fault. That's a very common thing in copywriting that you'll use about trying to, comfort the reader, essentially. Number 6, why now? Is there a reason I need to buy it right away instead of tomorrow? You need to explain that and convince people to buy it right now. Number 7, why should I trust you? All right, so that's pretty obvious. You've got to present a valid argument to why they should trust you. Number 8, how does it work? How do I know what you teach actually works? So you got to convey that point and get it across to them. Number 9, how do I get started? Right? So how do they get started? What are you going to tell them to do? What is it that they need to do? It's probably getting started by clicking the buy button. Number 10, what do I have to lose, right? You don't want to look like a fool if you're buying something, so you need to have risk-adverse copy that basically prevents people from feeling like if they buy this, they might not be it might not be a happy camper. They might not get what you promised or whatever the solution might be to your story, right? So you want to make sure that they have a full understanding that there is no risk to them. Okay, so you make sure you answer these 10 questions, and then this solves one specific problem for your audience. Okay? So solving one specific problem for your target customer can be summed up in basically one sentence. So a lot of people struggle with how I actually do that. How do I find that? Here's probably the best way to do that. The new opportunity is the key to their desire, and it's only attainable through my new mechanism. So the new opportunity, you have to frame it as a brand new idea, right? And their desire, it's what they want to achieve, but it's out of their reach for various reasons, right? For some reason or another, they haven't been able to find that solution or attain that solution. And then my new mechanism is basically your solution, your product, your course, etc., to the problem. So the new opportunity is the key to their desire, and it's only attainable through my new mechanism. So you can basically fill in the blanks and remove all the highlighted words there with your own particular product, right? So what is it that what is your new idea? What is your product? What is it that your problem solves, right? What is the product? And then their desire, right? What is it that they're going to achieve through that they haven't been able to achieve yet? So how are you going to help them or solve their problem? And then my new mechanism is going to be your particular solution for their problem, right? And what it is that it's going to benefit them. How is it going to change their life? How is it going to, fix what's broken? That sort of thing. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So we're going to go on to storytelling. All right. Never tell a story without making a point, and never make a point without telling a story. This is absolutely critical and crucial. So you don't want to ever just write any type of story without there being some kind of point being made by the end of that particular story, is what that's saying. So memorize that, think about it, and always apply that particular principle. Facts are boring, and boring does not sell. All right, so you want to stay away from just writing out basic facts. You want to interweave those things into a story, because a story has an emotion element to it, and everybody can identify with that emotion. And whoever can connect with the brain, the emotion side of things, and get inside of the heart, which is also part of the emotion of the buyer, will win every single time, right? So that's why it's so important to do storytelling in your sales copy. And then selling is a transference of emotion, right? And emotion is essentially like the currency, right? So you want to, everything you're doing in your pitch or your sales copy is transferring the emotion from you or the story itself, in whether it's written or video format or whatever it is, to the actual person listening or reading on the other side of things. All right, connect your story to the product or whatever it is you're trying to sell. Right? So now you have to just make sure whatever story you're telling, it's important that however you're telling that story, it relates to whatever the product or whatever the service or whatever it is you're trying to sell to the reader or the listener or the viewer. All right? So we're going to move on from this and cover the next section, which is story selling, right, in 5 steps. So step 1, what happened? The cause of the pain and struggle, right? So that's what we're going to, this is all about emotion. Number 2, what was it like? What it felt like? What are the actual emotions that it was like when you went through this? Number 3, what did I do about it? I bought a course, started a business, etc., right? So you're going to interweave that into your storytelling. What it's like now, the result and resulting emotion, right? So how do you feel after your breakthrough with what you did about it? And then number 5, what should they do right now? A specific call to action, right? Or a call to a specific action. Okay? So again, what happened? The cause of the pain and struggle to the story. Like why was there something that occurred that was so powerful that made you feel a certain way, which is number 2. What was it like? Okay, and then number 3, what did you do about it, right? What was the solution? And then number 4, what it's like now. So what's the result of that solution? How do you feel about that solution? Did it work? Did it not work? Etc. Number 5, what should they do right now? Right? Tell them exactly what they need to be doing. All right, that's story selling in 5 steps. Now harness the power of your own unique story. Story should create an emotional connection with the reader, which we just talked about. They can easily identify with your story and put themselves in your shoes, right? That's so imperative. You know, if they cannot connect with your story, you're not doing a good enough job with your storytelling. And then this should be in some sort of long form sales copy. It's typically 1,500 or more words. Believe it or not, that seems like a lot. But once you start crafting these stories and the story selling, you'd be amazed how quickly you can add a bunch of words to a particular story. It's amazing. It's easier. I mean, I just did this exercise myself. I'm writing a brand new Facebook ad copy for a webinar I'm going to be doing. And I did this whole, took all this and did this all exactly the way I'm teaching it to you. And I ended up writing 3,300 word story, which is more than double what you need to be doing. Okay. So that's how easy it is to do that many words. Okay. So there's 4 steps to creating buyer frenzy. Number 1 is immediacy. How fast can the buyer get their desired result, right? So that's so imperative, right? It gets them to do it today, right now. All right. That's got to happen. You got to be able to weave this into your storytelling. Number 2, value. Stack so much value into the offer that's actually more risky for them to pass on your offer rather than to actually purchase it, right? So questions you can ask that add to your sales copy. If I purchase right now, how much time and money do they save over the next 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, right? So think about that question and how you could answer it in your sales copy. Are they going to overpay if they go somewhere else to get something of similar value of the same solution elsewhere? How much time could they waste by using a competitor to get that same solution, right? And then what would it feel like for them? All right. And then how much time and energy and money have you paid or invested to learn what you've learned? How much did it cost you to create it? Okay. So those are 3 really good questions that you need to ask yourself. You probably want to rewatch this video or rewind it, write these down, whatever it is, and go through those questions and answer those questions and weave those answers into your storytelling, into your story selling ad copy. Okay. And then social proof, right? Show how other people love it, right? Because people's biggest fears are to look foolish or stupid. And so if they can see how other people are loving it, they will not have as much resistance to purchasing your product. People don't like screenshots of income proof anymore. It shows, it's also mostly against most of the regulators online, so you can't use that anyway any longer. And people actually don't buy into that as much as they used to anyway. And then people want to hear about support. They want to hear about things like money back guarantee. They want to hear about things like the community. They want, all of that. So let's go on to number 4 is bonuses. the real trick to this is that the bonuses should be worth as much or more than the product itself, right? So you want people to want to buy it just for the bonuses. That's the secret. And then you want them to ask themselves, after they see the bonuses that you're adding to the actual product, you want them to think to themselves, why wouldn't I want to buy this? Essentially, that's how much value you want to stack into your bonuses, okay? And if any of you know me for any length of time, when I was promoting other people's products, you know that was one of the primary things I did, was I added a tremendous amount of value in bonuses, which made it just an absolute no-brainer to pick up the product, whether you really wanted that product or not. And perhaps you even wanted my bonuses more than you wanted the actual product. That's how invaluable bonuses are to your products, okay? So 5 mistakes to avoid when writing sales copy, right? Narcissism. Avoid writing copy that only you would buy or that you would believe. All right. So that's something to think about when writing your sales copy. Copycat syndrome, which is easy enough to do. Avoid assuming that what works for someone else will also work exactly the same way for you, right? So try to be original and speak from your own voice rather than someone else's. And number 3, worrying. Avoid endlessly wondering what others think about what you're producing, what you've created, what you're doing, and thinking whether it's good enough or not. Believe me, once you whatever you're doing is going to be good enough, so get it out there and do it. And then number 4, paralysis by analysis, right? That's avoid being too overwhelmed to get started. Avoid shiny object syndrome and some new big ideas that may pop into your head that derail you from getting started on whatever it is that you're working on. Get that started and get it finished from point A to point Z before even thinking about something else. And number 5, just get this out of your mind right now that you're not talented. Avoid believing that some people have a gift for ad copy or writing sales copy, because ad copy is a skill. It is learned. It is not some kind of natural gift. All right? So, moving on, we're going to talk about the PMES copywriting formula. So, problem is the P in PMES. Identify the pain, struggle, worry, anxiety of your reader or your avatar or your perfect target customer. Okay, this works. This whole copywriting formula works hand in hand with the 6 steps we covered in the beginning from Donald Miller. This is more about identifying the feelings in your sales copy, and it's emotional benefit focused. Okay. Number 2, massage, right? You want to dig in or agitate and make them feel it, but do it gently. Okay. Don't overly, don't make it sound so bad that there's nothing you can do to solve it, right? But you want to basically agitate the problem, talk about the problem, make them understand that the problem exists if they don't already understand that. Number 3, you want empathy, right? Like I said before, it's not your fault, right? Some other great lines that you'll put in sales copy are things like, hey, look, I get it. I've been there before. How about the feeling of XYZ hurt so damn bad? You know what I mean? Here's another example. If there's one thing I can tell you, it's that you're not alone. And you probably saw that in my copy on this particular product. I used to be just like you. But in order to use something like I used to be just like you, you definitely need to build trust first. Otherwise, people will say, no, you're nothing like me. You don't know what I'm going through, what I'm feeling. So you have to definitely build that trust with people before you use something like I used to be just like you in your ad copy or in your sales copy. And then the S for solution, how can you solve their problem, right? So again, PMES copywriting formula is basically the emotional benefit of identifying the feelings in your sales copy. And P is for problem, M is for massage, E is for empathy, and S is for solution. And again, this works hand in hand with the 6 steps from Donald Miller that we covered in the beginning of this particular training. All right, so let's focus on the last one, which is features versus benefits. A feature is a description of the actual product. All right. So an example of this might be like the microphone I'm using is made from the best components, premium grade steel, unlike cheap knockoffs. All right, that is a feature. Okay. A benefit is emotional feelings people feel as a result of using a particular product. All right, so an example of this might be, this is the exact same microphone that Joe Rogan uses to record his podcast. You'll sit down to record your next podcast with a calm and cool confidence that your voice will sound just like Joe's. All right, do you see the difference there? So the first one's primarily talking about the exact specs of whatever it is, and the second one isn't talking so much about the specs, but about the feeling that you're going to get from using that particular product or that particular item. All right. So I could go on and give you some more examples of features and benefits, but I want to keep this video semi-short, and I covered quite a bit, but this was basically just a Cliff Notes version of sales copywriting in a nutshell, and I wanted to make sure that you guys had some of the bigger picture ideas about it and understand that the key takeaways to doing sales copywriting is primarily storytelling, right? And I want to just quickly go back to that one slide and recap that with you. So we never tell a story without making a point, and never make a point without telling a story. Facts are boring. Boring does not sell. So when we talk about facts, we're talking about more or less features versus benefits, right? Facts are features, or features are facts, and benefits are emotions, right? And emotions are what compel people to take action, compel people to identify with you, and basically resonate with your story. And then whoever can connect with the brain and get inside of the heart of the buyer will win every single time. So remember that. And then selling is a transference of emotion, right? So that's important. And then connect your story to the product or whatever it is that you're selling. So it could be a service or it could be something else, but whatever it is, make sure your story connects to the buyer and to the product. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And with that being said, I will speak with you real soon. Take care.